Hello and welcome to another episode of the Same Old Arsenal. I hope you all had a fantastic Christmas. I'm your host again today, and it's another Potts preview. My name is Dan Potts, and I'm going to be joined by an Arsenal fan and a Chelsea fan to obviously talk about the upcoming fixture tomorrow. For me, Christmas is all about football. We've had quite a lot of football games on, quite a few shocks. But the one thing that isn't a shock is it looks to me as if Liverpool have pretty much won the league now after last night's Manchester City performance. But we're not going to be talking about that today. We are going to be talking about the Arsenal game against Chelsea. And joining me, back by popular demand, is my brother-in-law, Mark. Mark, how are you, mate?
Good. I don't know what day of the week it is, but it's still Christmas apparently, so Merry Christmas.
Yes, mate. I don't know when we stop saying Happy Christmas, to be fair. I suppose when it's the New Year. Is that about right? I don't know. Something like that. We'll go with it. Mate, I was with you, but we had a good one, yeah? You enjoyed it?
Yeah, it was fantastic. It's all about the kids, isn't it? And they seemed to have fun and got everything and more they needed. So hopefully everybody out there did.
Good stuff, mate. Also joining us, as always, is another fan from the opposition side, Chelsea, a good friend of mine that I've known for about 7 years now. Matt, how are you, bud?
Boo! Yeah, I'm all right, mate. Thanks for having us on. Happy to be here. Had a good old Christmas and that. I hope all the Arsenal boys having a good Christmas. Didn't really enjoy Boxing Day too much, but we won't talk about that too much.
Absolutely, mate. Listen, to be fair, our Boxing Day wasn't amazing, but we're going to start with Arsenal. Mark, I'm going to come to you first because we have got a new manager in Mikel Arteta. We won't talk about the performance against Bournemouth so much because we'll obviously be talking about that on the actual Same Old Arsenal programme next. But what I wanted to do was just ask you a few about what Arteta needs to do and what he's got a window coming up, January transfer window. What does Arteta need to do with these players?
We've got to get that spirit back in the club, hasn't he? Which we talked about working as a unit, working as a team, buying into an ethos. We've got Matty on here today, and Chelsea seem to have taken a bit of a leap on us on what we need to do. They've had some lads out on loan, like we have, and we still have in Nikita and stuff like that. So, that's the kind of the blueprint. I never thought I'd say it about Chelsea, but whether they had their hands tied or not, they've gone down a route of getting some lads in who've got points to prove, they've got things to achieve in the game, and are willing to buy into a manager's ethos to go after it wholeheartedly and do it as a collective for a club, for themselves. And we've been lacking a little bit of that, I think. We've been a bit of a gang of individuals maybe for too long now. So yeah, galvanise the squad, and if that means losing a few of the lads in that squad who are not willing to buy into that, or too old to buy into that, or feel that they've achieved too much in the game to run that extra mile, Arteta will. I've got faith that he will go through that squad fairly rapidly and deal with it.
Yeah, it seems that way to me. I think personally, I just want to see him get hold of some of these players that are coachable. Some of them, for me, aren't coachable now. You look at someone like David Luiz, Socrates. They've all got to the age where they've already know their stuff. They're not going to be taught anything new. And I think that if you look at some of the youngsters, I think Arteta can really work with them. And one thing that impressed me against Bournemouth was the off the ball pressure. And I think that he's made it quite clear that he wants to work with players who not only like fit his style, but actually give a damn off the ball and try and chase it back. And they want to see the attitudes off that. And I kind of saw that against Bournemouth. Did you think that was something that you could see as a positive?
Yeah, of course. But his hands been tied again. You could argue that some of the players who played the best, who looked the best, were the young fullbacks. Were Torreira for the first time in a long time was playing in his correct position. And stuff like that. That always helps. There wasn't ever, we still have the same old failings. Socrates outpaced, outmuscled. I'm not quite sure what he is good at, but he's been around the block. And Lacazette seems to be a little unhappy at the minute. I'm not going to get on his back and say too much because he is a fantastic footballer, but he certainly wasn't operating at full tilt at the weekend. So there's still an Ozil again. They would say purring over him in the first half, but he got an awful lot of room. I'm not sure that he'll get allowed that amount of room if, for example, Chelsea start with Kante and Giorgio, or I still can't remember what his name is, but he's a fantastic player. And if he's got them two sitting in front of the back three or four, whatever Frank goes with, he ain't going to get no room like that against Chelsea. So he will be non-existent again. So
yeah, I have to agree.
Still there then, but the youth are giving us positives.
Yeah. No, listen, I think that he ain't going to change overnight. We have got some bad eggs in there, and I think some of these senior players still do need to move on. Matt, I'm going to come to you because I always like to get an opinion from an opposition fan about our beloved Arsenal club. And what is it from the outside looking in at the moment from a Chelsea point of view? Because you must be laughing at some of our comical defending, but what do you think it is with Arsenal?
I don't know. I mean, I don't watch you in like every single game like you do. You know, you go to every single game, so I see snippets of it, probably the same as what you see about Chelsea. You know, so I watch every minute of every game if I can, and I go to as many games as I can. But from the outside, it just seems like it's similar to what Chelsea went through, where, like you said, you have a few bad eggs in the team, a few players that are difficult in the dressing room to manage, struggling to sort of bring in the right type of player. Who's going to do the job, the exact job that you want, you know. And we've had that in with our strikers, you know. We've been searching for this striker who's going to answer all our prayers since Drogba retired, and it never really happened, you know. You've got a few that went through good runs of form, but then people like Diego Costa, who were a nightmare in the dressing room, you know. And I think you've
He was right there on the stick for opposition. He was a hell of a player, though.
Oh yeah, a great player, but then it weren't just at Chelsea that he's been a pain in the backside. He's sort of gone everywhere, and he's got a name for himself now, and you don't really ever sort of hear from him at the moment. But you've made some signings that sort of over the sort of period of a few years, I've actually been envious of a few of them, and actually they've not quite fulfilled their potential, I think. And I think some of them still under the right manager could excel massively. So I just think it's at the moment, all the puzzle pieces are potentially not there. There's a few missing, but it just all needs putting in the right order, and you should be able to find some form, you know. When you get stuck in a rut, it's difficult. And when you have, like I've seen in my team, when you've got a few bad apples, they rot the bunch.
What did the Chelsea fan base make of Arteta going to Arsenal? Was it quite like a few sniggers, or was it like a promising one, you think? Or what's the talk?
I think it was. I think a lot of it was down to a lot of people thought that, well, stick with sort of what you know and try and get someone who has some relation to the club, you know, like we've done with Lampard. Yeah. I think some people think it's sort of clutching at straws and a bit like, well, there's no one else really available that wants to come here. We've already made sort of one mistake in Emery, and actually, look, well, what do? We're halfway through a season. A lot of the season's written off now. You know, you can still push for fourth, but it's hard. You know, the Champions League and the bits and pieces is going to be, the Europa League. Sorry, is going to be your only chance, really, or better chance of a fourth place, I think. So I think a lot of the thought was it's either going to be someone who they can get rid of quickly if it doesn't work out, or if it does work out, say, well, we knew it was going to work out. It's someone who's close to the club, and we can sort them all out and get a bit of respect in the dressing room.
Yeah, fair one. Mark, we got a question from Gooner for Life here that I'd like to ask you, mate, if possible. It's a question: what should Arsenal expect now for the end of the season? Top 6 ? What do you make of that?
First of all, the problem is the word expect, which I don't think Arsenal have got a right at the minute to expect anything, given where we are and where we're starting from, if you like, under Arteta after Emery. So expect is we are hoping to finish in the Europa League spots, because that is massive when we look to freshen up the squad and attract new players. And that would be a huge blow if we don't achieve that. So that is our aim. But given the appalling run of form we're under, which I think is, if I'm right, if I remember rightly, I think we've won 1 in 14 in all competitions. That is
Yeah.
not Europa League place form. That is relegation. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We hope Europa
Mm.
League.
I think you're right, mate, and I'm not going to disagree with that. I actually don't think we are going to get in the top six. I think we're just going to have to write this season off in the league and try and see what we can do in this Europa League run that we're going to have. There are a few teams in that I don't fancy facing. Ajax, Inter Milan, even Man United and Wolves have picked up form now. They're all better than us on form, but you never know with a cup competition. I just think that if Arteta can try and get some of confidence back into this squad, then we can really go for that competition. And the league, for me, I think it's going to be an 8th or 9th. You know, I wouldn't surprise me if Sheffield United and Wolves finished above us. You know, they're playing better than us. It really wouldn't be a massive shock to me after what I've seen this season so far. So things can turn around quickly in football. I really hope that I'm wrong, and I'll be optimistic that Arteta can change things around. But we'll see. I saw some positives on Boxing Day, so let's see what happens tomorrow. Matt, coming on to Chelsea. Listen, mate, I'm not going to lie. I've been very, very impressed with Chelsea this season. I had you down in 8th or 9th on the start of the season, just for the pure fact that you lost Hazard. You weren't going to be able to replace him because of the transfer embargo. I thought that was going to be 15 points less on its own. You got a new manager in Frank Lampard who, you know, okay, fair enough, did really well, I thought, with Derby and did have a season, but that's a massive jump for him. But, mate, it's been pretty surprising, ain't it?
Yeah, I mean, as a Chelsea fan, over the more recent years, we've got used to a little bit of a success in that, but we've also had some shockers as well. You know, we've had a season like you're having now under Jose Mourinho, where we had a real shocker, and everyone was laughing at us, and we was all over social media in the memes and all that. You know, so this year there was no expectation, like we were just talking about expectation. There was no real expectation. You know, we all sort of thought, well, top 4 would be brilliant. You know, and a little cup run, maybe get out of the group stage of the Champions League, be brilliant. But Frank's going to have a lot of. He's got the crowd behind him. They all love him. He's a club legend. So he's going to have a little bit more leeway than maybe another manager. Every time I've heard his interviews and seen what he's done, I've agreed with him. I've got respect and time for him, and I think the fans have as well. And it seems like the players are playing all right. We got off to a good start, a poor start against Man United, but that was no like 4-0. You know, it was just one of them games where. And look what's happened now. You know, look where Man U are. But recently, we've dropped off a little bit. We've got a team of young players, some real promise in there, not only for Chelsea but also hopefully for the England squad in years to come. But lately, we've dipped in form. We've been very inconsistent, and I think it's the naivety of the players that we've got. I think since November, we've literally been win, lose. It don't matter if it's and that's sort of a pattern like that. The last game was a loss, so I'm not saying anything, but you never know if the pattern continues. But it doesn't. We started off with really good away form, and it took a little while for Frank to get his first home win. We had a few injuries. We've still got the likes of Loftus-Cheek and that to come back, so we've still got some. But yeah, like you say, we couldn't make any transfers, so we had to use what we had. And I'm happy, mate, and I'm enjoying watching us. And it's nice to have other fans from other clubs with a little bit of respect, really, now to Chelsea to say, well, fair play, you know, we had all written you off, and actually they've pulled up the socks. So some players have started playing who weren't playing in other seasons, and yeah, like it's exciting seeing these youngsters having a run out and enjoying themselves and doing well, you know. It's interesting what you sort of the players that you sort of relied on, like N'Golo Kante, for example. He was injured for a lot of the start of the season. We played really well, but since he's come back, not taking anything away from him because he's one of, I think, he could make it into most people's teams. But since he's come back, is when the dip in form has occurred. You know, there's a lot of players now fighting for that position in the middle. You've got Jorginho. You've got the likes of Kovacic and others that are desperate to play. And you know, I think him coming back has sort of upset the apple cart a little bit. They got used to what they needed to do at the start, and now there's too much to pick from. But it's good. It'd be interesting what happens in January. Hopefully not a lot, to be honest with you. I'd rather just stick with what we got and see what happens.
I was going to ask you about that because I've been a massive fan of some of these youngsters. You know, I look at Mason Mount and I look at Toby Abraham, what them two have been doing. I've always been a fan of Cam Hudson-Odoi. I think he's got potential there, and I like the young lad at the back. But I think that when it comes to it, in January, if you were to go right now, let's go and replace those players with 4 or 5 positions. And then those players I've just mentioned then drop to the bench. Does that kind of upset the dressing room a bit, and you've got to make them players gel?
I think it upsets the dressing room and the fans, mate. To be honest, when we've been screaming out in the terraces, in the pub before the game and out for Tammy Abraham, we've had the likes of Batshuayi and Giroud, second class strikers playing for us, and we've been saying we've got a brilliant striker.
I'm talking about legend.
I mean, he has played good games for us, Giroud. Don't get me wrong, but he's not a 90-minute player. 2 games a week.
He won you the cup last year, didn't he? Against us. We won't talk too much about that.
No.
Every single round.
Yeah, but we knew that we had talent in Tammy. The fans did, and we've had youth through the past that we've let go of, and we've lived to regret. That we don't need to talk too much about De Bruyne. We had him on our books, and look what's happened. And Salah, Lukaku. Weren't too disappointed to get rid of him, but I'm glad that we're actually doing something with the youth now. We've been saying it for years, and if we did go out there and then go and buy, I don't know, people to fill those positions, I think it just show a bit of lack of respect to the team, to the players, and yeah, I think it would upset it a little bit. I mean, we need to strengthen in depth because we've only really got a starting 11 and a few sort of positions here and there that we can fill. Otherwise, we're makeshifting, sort of putting players out of position, but we definitely need some depth. But I'm quite happy with what we've got.
Yeah, fair one. Mark, coming on to the game itself tomorrow, how confident are you, and what do you think the team selection will be that Mikel Arteta is going to pick, mate?
Confidence-wise, it depends what Chelsea side turns up, because I'm not even sure yet that Frank knows his best 11, and he is mixing not only personnel but formation. And there's no rhyme or reason to whether or not that's home or away, whether they play 3 or 4 at the back. So they've got so much option in midfield. They can literally park the bus, which they have done against Southampton or Everton and got beat, or I can't remember now. One of those games, they had their midfield was almost protecting their back four, and they still got beat. And then the next time they got beat, they went for it with Pulisic and all that in midfield. And again, with even in that game, they had Marcus Alonso on the wing, who for me is better going forward than back. But they still lost, So, but then if you look at the games that they have won, it doesn't make any sense. The games they're winning and losing. So, with as you said, the inconsistency will come with confidence and time with the youth of Chelsea. So, what are we going to get from Chelsea? We don't know. With Arsenal, with regards the team that Arteta will pick out, we know it will be Leno in goal. Again, I'll say it. Arguably should be our captain. We've got no choice at fullback, so that will be Maitland-Niles and Saka, who I thought had a cracking game. Both of those. Personally, I would stick with Sokratis, and then I would put Chambers in if he's fit. I don't know.
Yeah, he is. He's back from suspension. Yeah.
Yes, that was it. So Sokratis and Chambers for me, only because I'm now going to say that we should put Luiz next to Torreira, because if Xhaka's coming out in the press, and his agent certainly has, saying that he wants to go to Berlin, and as far as I'm concerned, Arsenal, and I'm sure they will let him go, but only when it's right for them. And I don't believe that's to do with money, because I think that they would take £5 on the Mars bar, but I think it's more to do with personnel coming in numbers-wise. So it probably heavily hinges on somebody coming from somewhere else. And there's a lot of talk of that, by the way, is to do with Upamecano, isn't it? They're trying to get somebody in to replace him. So the merry-go-round, silly season has begun. But Anyway, Louise and Torreira and then Guendouzi I'd put, because I don't think Laka and Uber play well up top together. One of them needs to be on the wing, and that is not going to be Uber for me. So Martinelli, Pepe, Uber finishes my set.
Yeah, mate, that's a good one. I think that David Luiz will definitely play due to the fact that it's against Chelsea, and it wouldn't surprise me if Mesut Ozil keeps his place, mate. That's my only one. I think maybe Mesut Ozil ahead of Guendouzi, but I could be wrong. I think that Martinelli, if he is fit, has got to be playing because I've been really impressed with him. I think Pepe, likewise, has got to get ahead of Reece Nelson. And I think you're right with the striker situation. I think Aubameyang needs to play through the middle. And because he's a goal machine, you know, even if he doesn't have an amazing game, he always seems to get on the score sheet. So I'm with you there. At the back, Chambers is definitely fit. I just wonder if Chambers will go at right back and he might put Maitland-Niles over at left back. I don't know why I say that because I think Saka's been good. I just wonder if he might just think maybe because it's against a good side in Chelsea that we might want to put Saka, you know, maybe on the bench or bring him on. I don't know, in a more forward position. But
Louise in the middle of the park, really, was that he's got that option to sort of drop into a
Yeah.
three and protect the fullbacks. But
yeah,
you know, the trouble is, once you give Louise a license to be that little bit further up the pitch, he will be taking the corners and the throw-ins and everything else. You know, his discipline is not great at holding, but we'll see. I would like to give him a run there next to Torreira. It could be quite balanced. And he can pass the ball, Louise, so we'll see.
Yeah, fair one, mate. Fair one. Matt, coming over to your team news, mate. What's the team going to be tomorrow against Arsenal, mate?
I personally think he's going to stick to the 3-5-3. Done the do against Spurs and then got undone by Southampton. But like we said, all stream, there's ups and downs in the team. But I think he's going to stick there. We've got Kovacic back now. He was suspended for the totting up system. So I think he's going to come in. I don't think we'll play Kante. I think he'll play him in the middle with Jorginho, to be honest with you. I think he'll probably play Alonso on the wing, as a wing back, which Alonso, a lot of people who don't watch us week in, week out would think that, yeah, he's a decent player, but his nickname on the terrace is Alonso, and he just gives the ball away so much. So if he is playing tomorrow, keep an eye on him and you can probably tick off every time that he gives the ball away or does something wrong, and you hear the fans really get on his back. So we definitely need a replacement for him at some point. But that's what I think will happen. I'm hoping that we'll play Willian. He's in the form of his life at the moment, really. He's been undoing teams. He's took that Hazard role on pretty well. And then I think we'll probably see Mason Mount on the opposite wing and Tammy up front. We've got Azpilicueta took a knock, so you'll be happy about that. I don't think he's going to be back. So Reece James stepping in his position.
He looks all right, though, doesn't he, Reece James?
Another promising up-and-coming player. So I'm happy with that, you know. Azpilicueta over the years, he was always known as that player that would give you 8 out of 10 every game. He's starting to drop off a little bit now as he's getting a bit older and bits and pieces, and he hasn't got that as good support at the back now. In the middle, you're going to be looking at your Tomori, your Zuma and your Rudiger, and I'm very glad Rudiger's back now because he's probably our best centre back now. So that's the way it's going to go, and obviously Kepa in goal, who will gift you a goal at least, I would imagine, because he'll do something tomorrow. He'll flap something, he'll do something stupid, or he'll do a rubbish pass out, you know, first time or something. He has got that in his locker, unfortunately.
I must admit, I think he's a great shot stopper, but there's a lot of money, and we managed to get Leno for about 26 million. And if I'm honest with you, I don't see a massive amount of difference in quality. So I do think he's a good goalkeeper, Kepa. Don't get me wrong, but I thought it was a lot of money personally.
Oh, definitely. He's been caught off unaware a few times now, and a few games I've been to, you know, where he's just a step or so off the line and it's gone over the top. You know, Liverpool last season, a last-minute goal caught him off the line. Aguero's done it to him. You know, the whole scenario where he wouldn't come off the pitch with Sarri, you know, it don't wash well with the fans. He's only just sort of made up for that now. But yeah, he has saved us a few points already this season with last gasp saves. But he's just got that. He's got that David James about him where he can always be a calamity at some point.
Calamity James, yeah. So listening to that, Mark, in terms of the Chelsea lineup, who do you think will cause us problems tomorrow?
Well, all of them. All of them. Tammy Abraham is going to give Callum Chambers and Socrates all manner of problems because they cannot manhandle someone. He is a big, physical, strong lad, youthful, chases down everything. You know, if we think we're going to be stroking the ball across the back four, they better beware. But they got plenty of energy. You know, I've been a massive fan of William for many years. Too old now to be looking at bringing him in, although we probably will now if he becomes available because that's the sort of thing we do. But you know, bags of energy there, isn't there, in that Chelsea side and youth, and you know, so it's really going to be, you know, whether they're up for the fight. But yeah, Chelsea's got quality, and you know, I love the new lad they've got who sounds like an American, but he's not, is he? But, is it Kovacic? Kovacic.
Pulisic. You're thinking about Pulisic, aren't you?
Pulisic sounds like an American, but he's not, is he?
Yeah. I don't know.
No, he is American.
He is American. So he's a player, isn't he? He's going to be a player. I mean, given that this is his first season in the Premier League, he's kind of hit the ground running, really, isn't he? So it's almost like Hazard who, isn't it? But yeah, this is going to be a cracking game, and it's got the potential to be 4-4. Say that it'll probably be 0-0 now, but you know, the only thing we do know that this game's not going to have is that one of the coloured lads is not going to get sent off for mistaking for the other one. Now that we've got VAR, which happened a few years ago against Chelsea.
Yeah, I remember that a few years ago. Bloody, that was embarrassing, wasn't it?
Chamberlain, Kieran Gibbs got mistaken identities, didn't they? So that's not going to happen now with VAR. So that's the only thing I can guarantee you, boys.
And Matt, likewise, if you look at team news, is there any? I know we're not playing well at the moment, Arsenal, but we have got some dangerous players that can cause Chelsea some problems, I'm sure. Who do you look at if there's one yet to pick out?
It's difficult. I mean, I think as a whole, the team are going to get a boost from Arteta's first home game. You're going to have that buzz about the stadium again. You know, always do when there's a new manager, and I hate playing teams when there's a new manager. We played Everton the other week, new manager. Look what happened. You know, so I think there's always that to consider. But player-wise, I'm a massive Aubameyang fan. He scored the other day. If I'm not correct, I think he scored Boxing Day, did he?
Yeah, he did. He seems to always get on short streets somehow, doesn't he?
And so I think he's massively due a run of form, put a few goals in, and so I do worry about him. He's got pace. I've liked him for a long time. So him, and also another honourable mention being David Luiz. I don't think he'll get a good reception, unfortunately, from the Chelsea lot. Usually we're pretty good at, you know, with Petr Cech and that we've always given good reception, but I don't think in the manner that he left and his history, I don't think he'll get a massively good reception. But if he does play, your old players can always come back and haunt you. Chelsea found that out when Lampard went to Man City and scored in the last minute against us, and it just seems to happen, don't it? You know, so and like you say, he can get
a free kick in the last few minutes, run it around the box. Who puts their name forward to take it?
Yeah, and it'll either go in the top bin and be on the Sky Sports adverts every week, or it'll be in row Z and everyone will be moaning about him. Yeah, but yeah, he can put a ball from his box on the foot of a player in the other box, so he's always dangerous. And it depends what Luiz turns up really. But I think
it really does.
If Aubameyang's going to start, then yeah, I'll be worried about him. And if Luiz is as well, then keep an eye on him as well.
I think Aubameyang, most people say, is dangerous because he's a goal machine. You know, it doesn't matter how well he's playing as a whole. You leave him on for 90 minutes because he's always got a chance, you know, and he's one of these players who doesn't give you sort of a cover every blade of grass, you know, like Lacazette sometimes has been known in the last few weeks to not so much, but in general to work really hard. And Aubameyang is not one of those workhorse strikers, but he's just a goal machine. So I can see why you've gone with him.
The other thing with VAR as well is that it probably hinders Luiz's game because he's a filthy animal and he has been for years, you know, usually gets away with it, but I think that works against Luiz's game slightly. He's always got someone's shirt halfway up his arm.
Yeah, you know it. If you could pick an Arsenal player to put in Chelsea side, would it be Aubameyang, Matt?
It probably would be, but also just if we're playing free, like I say earlier about Alonso, I do like Tierney. Obviously, he's injured at the moment. He can play left back. I would imagine that he'd be good at, in the left. I don't know if he's played left wing back before, but Tierney I've rated for a while. Another youngster, awful lot of promise, and it's unfortunate when he got injured. Dislocated shoulder due back March time, I think.
Yeah, it's a shame. He's been injured most of the season, but when he has played, he has looked like the player we need, and he can cross a ball. I tell you that he's got a hell of a cross on him.
He's got a brilliant sort of record already. I know it's different in the Scottish leagues and that, but he's got a lot of young player awards and bits and pieces like that. So yeah, he would probably him and Aubameyang. I would like Aubameyang at Chelsea, like when he first sort of rumoured to be leaving, and then he went over to Arsenal. I was hoping he would have come over to us, to be honest, but
there we go.
No. Story and Kante and Jorginho, if you like.
I have to chat to Frank.
Mark, you've mentioned a few Chelsea players. If you had to pick one, who would you go with?
One of them three, isn't it? One of them three. Given that I know who you'd go for, Dan, I think I'll mix it up and you get him and I'll get the other one. I'd go Jorginho. Just because that's who we need. Someone, an unsung hero, to do the role that was originated at Chelsea, they say, by Claude Makelele. Or I would also take Tomori. I think he's got bags of potential.
Yeah,
so,
fair one, mate.
It's a different story this season with Jorginho, though, because last season the fans hated him because he was Sarri's son, come over with Sarri, and they hated him. And then this season, he's come through and he's a different player. It's the first time I've ever heard his name sung in the crowd. He's got a chant now. They love him, and I love him. But last season was so frustrating. He was the first name on the list. Kante won't get a look in, but he is quality.
Yeah, fair one. I'm going to go for the player you've just mentioned in N'Golo Kante, and I'm going to say this now. I think he's one of my favourite ever Premier League footballers, and I'm an Arsenal fan, so for me to say that, it's hard. I just look at the guy and think if nobody appreciates or rates this guy, they clearly don't know anything about football, because I don't have a clue how someone can be that good in a role. And people talk, I think you mentioned earlier, Mark, about the Claude Makelele role, and having a name or a football position named after your name is fantastic. But for me, N'Golo Kante actually is better than Makelele, in my opinion. I just think the guy controls a football game. And Matt, I'm sure you'll agree with me. I watched the Tottenham game last weekend where you beat him and smashed him, which was nice. And everybody went on about Mason Mount and Willian, but for me, N'Golo Kante was head and shoulders above everyone on that pitch. It was embarrassing how good he was. It was ridiculous. And this guy is just probably, for me, one of the best footballers that I've seen in the Premier League. He's definitely the best in the world in his position, in my opinion. I think that he controls a football game, not just the midfield. He controls a football game. And what I think, he's so intelligent that he kind of understands what part of the pitch to be at the right time. And if you sit and just watch him for 90 minutes, even if you don't watch the football game, just watch N'Golo Kante, and you'll learn so much about how good he is as a footballer. So he would walk into the Arsenal side, but he would walk into most sides in the world, in my opinion, in that position. So I will 100% go for N'Golo Kante as one of the best that I think Chelsea have got. And for me, Arsenal haven't got one of those world-class players. I think Chelsea still have. Obviously, City and Liverpool have, but Chelsea have still got that. And they did have it in Hazard. He's now gone, but you've still got it in N'Golo Kante for me, because I don't see how anyone cannot rate the guy. I just think he's absolutely amazing. Do you think I'm being over the top there, Matt, or do you think he is that good?
No, I think he's one of the best signings we've ever made, to be honest with you, in recent years anyway. And how we didn't get beaten to the post on it, I don't know, but won the league at Leicester, chose to leave, won the league with us the next year. He's got a hell of an engine on him. He just goes all the time. You never look at him and think he's knackered. He needs to come off. He's always got energy. He could probably play another game after 90 minutes. And he's got a cool head on him when he needs to be. He can put a challenge in and win you the ball back and start that counter attack straight away. And like you say, he's got good football IQ. He knows where to be. This year he's played a lot more attacking. You see him further up the pitch, and he can put a ball in the back of the net as well. He does score goals. Makelele never scored goals. No. So he is slightly different to him. Makelele scored one goal, and it was a penalty that he missed, and then got the follow up. And but yeah, great player, mate, and
I think so.
I hope he stays for a long time.
There's somebody in the comments here who is doesn't agree with me. His name's Stan Kroenke, believe it or not. I'm not sure if that's a joke one or what, but he thinks Kante's the most overrated player of all time. What do you make of that? I'd say that was completely wrong. I think he's a top draw player, but there we go. Everyone's got their opinion, I suppose. I am going to get some questions in a minute because we have got some good ones in the chat, so please get your questions in now. Mark, predictions for tomorrow, mate. What are you going for?
Chelsea notoriously batter us. That's the fact. I don't think we've beaten them since, it's since 2016 in the league, and they've got that in their locker. But saying that, I'm going to back my boys because I think they are inconsistent and we are at home. And I've said it before when I was on and we was at home, that didn't end well, but Kevin De Bruyne could have beaten us on his own that day. So I'm going to back us to win. And oddly enough, Mesut Ozil scored the last time we beat Chelsea in the league. So he might have a part to play, but I doubt it. So, but I'm going to say we're going to win 1-0. I'm going to go for a clean sheet and a 1-0 win.
Blimey, that Christmas alcohol's got to your head, mate, hasn't it? Mate, I love your optimism. I'm going to go with a draw, and I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw because I just don't think that we have got enough at the back to keep Chelsea quiet. So I don't think we'll lose, but I think we will get it. We'll score, but I don't think we're gonna win, unfortunately. So a little bit pessimistic of me, but I'll go for 2-2. Matty, what do you reckon?
Yeah, he stole my thunder a little bit there, Dan. I think I was going to go 2-2 as well, but I think you've got a lot of draws recently. You've had a lot of draws recently. We haven't had a draw in a long time, but and we tend to turn up against the bigger teams. And I do still consider Arsenal to be a big team.
You won't turn up on Sunday.
Well, when you look at our record against, say, the lesser teams that you think you would sort of walk over and that, we've been atrocious. But it seems to be when you come up against the big names, we pull up the socks and play. And it doesn't seem to matter if home or away. But I still think there's going to be goals in the game. I think you boys are going to have that extra push with a new boss in there, geeing up the dressing room, getting out there, fired up. There'll be an early goal, I think. And then, yeah, I'll stick with 2-2.
Fair one, mate. Fair one. We've got some questions, and the first one is going to be in relation to the January transfer window, which is obviously coming up very, very soon. This is from Going for Life. If you can only sign 2 players for Arsenal and for Chelsea, who would you get in January? Matt, we'll start with you. It's Chelsea, and then me and Mark will have a go in the January transfer window for Arsenal.
So that's a difficult one because we spoke about this and said that I didn't really want to make too much changes, but we do need a backup striker. Batshuayi is just not good enough, and Giroud is just not in Lampard's plans. Might be going to Rangers or whatever. So realistic transfers, we'd all like to say, we'll have Messi and whoever, but realistic. That Haaland guy, he looks like he's on the move. There's rumours about a brilliant signing. Whether
the Salzburg lad, is that right? Salzburg.
Yeah. Whether it'd be fair to keep him on the bench and Tammy as first choice, because that's what I want, is another matter. But he would certainly be up there. Watching him in the Champions League, fantastic, and watching bits and pieces on the TV, he's a goal machine and he's young. So him. Second player, difficult, but it'd have to be someone at the back. I'm struggling to think of someone at the moment, to be honest, at the top of my head, who is realistic to come to us. But obviously there's been rumours of matey at Leicester. Name's got out the top of my head now, but he's not going to come over in January. But it would have to be someone at the back. Off the top of my head, you caught me off guard.
No, fair one, mate. Fair one. Mark, if we could do, it's a similar question here from the same lad about what would Dan and Mark want player-wise for Arsenal and Matty for Chelsea in January. Even if you don't give us names, just positions or whatever it be, Mark, what do you reckon for Arsenal?
Well, we could just rewind back, can't we, to about 2000 and whenever it was. We need to replace Patrick Vieira. It's all joke aside. There's murmurs about Upamecano. I mean, we're linked with everybody, but Upamecano, something like that, and somebody who can just sit. In an ideal world, we'd go after the lad from Chelsea. indeed. But we're not going to have the money for that, and why would they leave Leicester and come to us? But that's what I'd like to do.
Yeah, I see. I was going to go with Upamecano as a definite for centre back because we definitely need one, and I believe that he does want to come. If rumours are true about Xhaka going, we've got some money, and we've still got the Iwobi money we didn't sell in the summer. So I'm hoping that we can get a deal done for Upamecano. That'd be a really good signing in January. And I'd also like a defensive midfielder. I reckon somebody like Ibrahim Sangari from Toulouse would be a fantastic shout. Young Ivory Coast, the next Yaya Toure. You heard it here first. 21 years old. He looks absolutely amazing. Absolute beast of a defensive midfielder. So I'd go for someone like him. If we aren't going to get the money for someone like him, then maybe try and tempt somebody like Decore from Watford to come and sit and hold next to Torreira. That would be quite a good shout for me because I think that he's been fairly consistent for the last few seasons. So I'll probably go for those two. If I had to sign two players, it would be either Decore or Sangari in defensive midfield and Upamecano at the back. This one comes in from Aaron, who is going to be asking this question. Afternoon, lads. Do you think we have a chance at top four if we beat Chelsea and Man United? Mark, might as well give that one to you, mate.
Well, let's be realistic about this. Liverpool are going to win the league. Man City are not going to be far away. Leicester are absolutely flying. So you're talking about one more position. And you're talking
I agree. I agree.
Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Sheffield United, Watford. I don't think we've got any right to suggest that we're going to finish above 3 out of those lot, let alone all of those lot. So one step at a time, baby step. If we beat Chelsea and United, we've got a shot at the Europa League spot. If we don't, we will not finish in the Europa League spot, let alone the top four. So I know it sounds really pessimistic, and I hate to be like that as a fan of a football club, but the Champions League is a long way off for us, realistically, even with 6 points in that fixture. We've got Chelsea twice in the next 3 or 4 weeks now. So, we're 8 points behind them now. If we don't beat them on Sunday, if they beat us, God forbid, we're 11 points behind them. So a big ask, big ask top four, but hey, if you work your socks off as a collective, who knows what's possible?
I think you've got more chance in, like I said earlier, in the Europa, getting through and having a little run in that and winning that for your Champions League football. And like I say, we've been in that position as a team as well.
Listen, I think I agree with you. I don't think top four is realistic this season, unfortunately. Now, listen, if we beat Chelsea and Man United, it's going to give us a lot of confidence, and who knows, we could go on this amazing run. But I just feel that we have too many weaknesses at the back. I don't feel that the dressing room is as solid or united as we might like to think. So Arteta's got a hell of a job on his hands, and I'm going to give him time. I'm not going to get on the lad's back because a lot of players or fan base, have been getting on the back of managers very, very quickly. I even heard people saying they wanted Freddie Ljungberg out when he couldn't beat Norwich. So you look at it and just think that this fan base, unfortunately, can get a little bit silly and a little bit deluded at times. We've got another message from a Mr. Stan Kroenke here saying that, sorry, Kante's not the most overrated player, it's Decore. So there we go. I think everything I'm saying he's just disagreeing with, but there we go. So we all think that's going to be a fairly quiet January transfer window then.
My second Twitter account.
Say again, Mark.
My second Twitter account, I'm just sending these in to wind you up then.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's it, mate. That's it. But, I think when it comes to it, the actual January transfer window is something that does kind of get in the way of the season. I think it's handy for some of the lower division clubs that kind of perhaps need a loan or something. But I've always thought it was a bit of a waste, if I'm honest with you. But saying that, we have made some fantastic signings over the years in it. I think we remember Jose Antonio Reyes. Bless him. He was a signing in January that was very promising when he came. Obviously, Andre Arshavin, which I think we actually signed in February or March in the end. It took that long. We brought him in. And of course, Aubameyang.
Kardashian, we signed him in January with a broken back. Don't forget that one.
Kim Kardashian, I remember him. Kim Kardashian, he was a really good player. About 20 years too late, I think. And then obviously Aubameyang came in January. So let's hope that we can get ourselves excited with another another signing or a couple in January for Arsenal. What is this one here?
The lad on loan, isn't there? The Robert, who went from PSG to Juve on a free transfer.
Oh, Rabiot, that's right. I did hear about Adrien Rabiot, yeah.
On a loan.
Yeah. And I don't know about him, really. I'm not sure that he's much better than Granit Xhaka, if I'm honest with you. I mean, I know there's a few players that are better than him, but in terms of his actual position and what he can bring to Arsenal, I've not seen enough of the lad to think that he'd be a fantastic signing. So let's see what happens there. This is from Alex McCarthy. Should Arsenal do a Chelsea of 2016 and finish outside the Europa League and focus on pushing for honours next season? What do you make of that one, Mark?
It's all well and good if you've got a squad that you think is capable of pushing for honours, and you could say, listen, it's going to be detrimental to us. And, I think if you look back at that side of Chelsea of 2016, they had some world-class players in their ranks, So, different animal, I think, what you're talking about. Nice idea. And if we've already got some lads, this is the thing with the January. If we can do some deals and leave the lads at their parent clubs or something like that until the end of the season and actually get our summer business done in January, for example, before the top is confirmed that we're not in Europe, and use a bang as bait if it is true that he wants to go, or lacquer and bait, because that's rather than losing your assets, if you can start using them rather than losing them, then we could build a squad. And if we've got that confidence and it comes down to the last game of the season, you think, actually, it's an interesting argument. It certainly worked for Chelsea, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so, mate. I think so.
As well, by the way, when they won the league, they had no European football to focus on. They won the league.
They nearly went down the season before as well.
Yeah, they really did. All right, boys. Thank you very much. Before we do go, I've got a question for you both each, because we are coming to the end of a decade. Matty, your Chelsea player of the decade?
It still counts because he did play in this decade, and it's a bit of it's a player that you lot will hate because he always used to turn up against you guys. Big guy up front. Started off spending most of the games on the ground, getting booed by his own fans, but then become a legend, scoring us a winning penalty to win us our first Champions League, and that's Didier Drogba.
Has to be.
What a player. Like I say, it was a love-hate relationship at Chelsea to start with. He was discovering the English game, realised that if I fall on the floor, I can get bits and pieces, and he was a big, strong bloke and used that to his advantage. Hold-up play was brilliant. Could put the ball in with his feet, with his head, whatever, really. So, yeah, it's got to be in for Chelsea for me, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right, to be fair, and I think an Arsenal fan might even agree with you, to be honest with you there, mate. Alex McCarthy has put Drogba as well. Mark, same question for you, mate. Arsenal player of the decade. Who are you going for?
Christ, we've had some dross, haven't we, in that time? Christ, we've had some seriously bad players in that time, but I think I would have to... We certainly ain't had any defenders in that period of time. That's a fact. In the last 10 years, we have definitely not had a defender of any quality at all. So we would have to look at going forward, and that list is a little more prestigious. So you're looking at, I like to talk about it, but Robin van Persie, people like that. Aubameyang now, you could argue if he stayed and had the right sort of club around him, a team around him like Henry had, you could argue that he would smash his record out of the water, given the start he had. But I think for me, just because of his brilliance, and it still bugs me to this day that he didn't come back, that he should have done, and he should still be the captain of our football club now, in my opinion, is Cesc Fabregas.
Yeah. It was so annoying that he didn't come back and he ended up going to Chelsea, wasn't it, Matt?
Yeah, well, it weren't annoying for us because he carried on playing fantastically for us, Yeah, what a player.
He was a great player. I'm going to go for Santi Cazorla because I think Santi Cazorla, for me, was really, really underrated. Both very, very technically gifted with both feet. He used both right or left, could take corners from right or left, was a great free kick taker. And in that time, I think he made off midfield tick, and we had lost Fabregas and we'd lost a few other players as well. And Santi had kind of been one of our better signings and was consistently very, very good. And I think that if we would have had a defensive midfielder alongside him, we had at the time Ramsey, Cazorla, Ozil, Sanchez, big Olivier Giroud up front. We were a defensive midfielder away from going for the title. So for me, the year that Leicester won it, that was what let us down, really, was a lack of a centre-back and defensive midfielder. Funny that, really, isn't it? Because that's still what we need now. But Santi Cazorla for me, 100%. Sanchez was close for me, and Ramsey.
Yes, sorry, Ramsey as well. He's worth a mention. Big game.
Definitely.
Fair
He
play
was,
to
and
Cazorla as well, when he's had obviously a lot of injury problems and bits and pieces. He's strong enough, even though he's not been playing football, to get through all that as well.
I think so, and a few people are agreeing with Santi Cazorla. So I think now you look at that, and it's fair enough. He was a top draw player around Ramsey in that 10 years that we've, won the FA Cups. That he was a massive part of that as well. But for me, it's just Santi Cazorla. Guys, we've overrun, but it's been a great show. Thank you both so much, Mark. As always, thanks very much, mate. I'll let you get back to the kids now.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year, everyone.
Absolutely. And to you, mate. Matty, thanks a lot, buddy. Top man for coming on, as always. I know it's never easy on an Arsenal podcast, but thanks very much, mate.
You didn't buy it, mate, so yeah, happy to come back on if I'm well with.
Mate, you're always welcome, buddy. Absolutely. Happy New Year to you all. Please, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the Same Old Arsenal. And you will see us Monday nights, myself, Lee Judges, Graham Brooks, Gray Scott, and Harry Simew. And we'll also have some other guests on the Pots previews from now. We're going to have a Man United Pots preview on New Year's Day with a couple of Man United fans. So hopefully by then we would have taken 3 points tomorrow, but we'll see. We will catch up with you very soon. Please, if we don't speak to you, have a fantastic, happy New Year, and we will see you next time. Cheers, guys.
Up the Chelsea.